Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Joel from Easy Engineering, and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. And yeah, I just wanted to do a video discussing your first day in Ableton, essentially. I mean, I've had a lot of people actually write to me and ask if I can do a video like this. So I thought I would get right in and, discuss it as if you've literally just opened up Ableton and it's your first ever time seeing all of this. To those who have written to me, I do apologize if this video has taken longer to reach you than intended. But anyway, with that being said, let's jump right in, because I'm a firm believer of to teach is to learn twice. So I'm all about learning and I love teaching. Obviously, this video is not going to be as exciting and as, my previous videos or some of the previous videos that you guys may have watched. But I do feel that is important to really learn and utilize the tool that you're using and know it inside and out. I mean, there's so much to Ableton. It's insane. It's a full-on rabbit hole. But anyway, I'm going to try and discuss, from going from left to right, just everything that you can see on the screen right here. I'm going to try and discuss it and explain it to the best of my abilities as quick as time as possible. So let's get started. So we got a left, side of the screen. We got all of this over here, and we got this over here, and then we got this over here. I would say that this top bar is pretty much your transportation bar or transport control. Some DAWs have it down here, such as Cubase. I think Pro Tools also has it up here. Anyway, we've got a link, tap, BPM, these two buttons over here, time signature, metronome, and quantization. Now, link is to just essentially, it's like Bluetooth for other Ableton Live devices. Correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially that is kind of what the link button is doing. Now, tap is basically just to tap your BPM into the track. This is usually done for live mixing or anything like that. And I mean, going back to the link, Paul van Dyk, he has two laptops for I don't know if he still does, but he has two laptops using Ableton, and I think those two laptops are basically being synchronized. So there's obviously a lot more versatility that you can get out of using two live devices rather than just one. And obviously you want them to link up. So essentially the tap is to obviously sync your BPM, and then you can see when you tap it 4 times, it starts playing. To move on to these two, these are basically your jog wheels, so that you kind of nudge it backwards or forwards to obviously beat sync it. And these are your time signatures. This is, when you want to create music. Let's say we want to create some, interesting, 3-2. Why not? Double click to go back to the original. And then you got your metronome. You have all these different options that you can choose from, rhythm to sound. The sound doesn't really matter, but I think the rhythm and the counting is quite important. And obviously this button over here is to enable only while recording, which obviously, could come in handy. And then you have your quantization. So your global launch quantization, essentially it's just controlling the global quantization when you're launching clips and vice versa, where you obviously synced to another device and everything, and you can choose the different kind of quantization, 8 bars to 32. It's really important. And I think this button also over here could be quite cool, interesting. It's just to follow the arrangement, as you can see over here. And then over here you got your time code where you are within the project or the arrangement, and then you got your play, pause, record. This is your MIDI overdub. So let's say you're recording some MIDI and you want to overdub it. Overdubbing is a process of keeping the original content there while overlaying it with the same similar content. So that you would have to activate this button over here to make that happen. Otherwise, it will record over the original written stuff. So let's just do a nice chord. Cool. Now, if I have this turned off, it records over the original recordings. But if I have this enabled and I press record, it allows me to record over the information already there. So next you have your automation bar, which is usually turned on, but essentially this is your global kind of automation settings where If you have it turned on, manual automation recorded in session view will only get recorded to those clips. With it turned off or on, I'm not too sure which one, it will be recorded for all playing clips or selected clips. Essentially, it's global button determining the outcome of how you use your automation. Obviously, re-enable automation. So that's if you've been, automating and everything, and then you choose a separate parameter. You'll see, like, if the automation kind of gets overwritten, this button will allow you to revert those any of those changes. Now, I've covered this button in a previous video, which is capture MIDI, which is obviously if you've been playing piano but you're not recording anything, it will obviously capture that MIDI and also determine the beats per minute. More on it, you can, obviously go and find that video that I've done previously and take a look there. Now, this is your session record button. It's essentially, what I can gather is, it's like a punch in record. So a lot of different kind of ways to use this and utilize it, but essentially it's just a way of recording in certain situations. It comes in very much in handy when you're recording bands or live music or anything like that. Again, so you have your time code over here, but this is for your looper. As you can see over here, I'm moving it around. I mean, you can also just grab it over here, move it around like that, or what you can do is highlight an area, Control L, and it does that. Now, this should, yeah, you see over here with it not looping. This is also just kind of for like punch recording and just different ways of how you would record a live band or live music or anything like that. Obviously, this is activating the looper, and this kind of controls the size, as you can see. Now, again, like I said, different ways of doing it. I usually just do it like this or just like that. Moving on to the final right end of the transport bar is you've got your pencil mode, draw mode, which is a bit different to, just how you normally have it. It's just a different way of drawing in your MIDI or your automation. Personally, I don't use this a lot, but I think it can be very, very useful depending on how you obviously write in your piano roll stuff or anything like that. Now, this button kind of turns your keyboard into a piano, as you can see over there, and with it off, it allows for other functionality within the keyboard. I usually alternate between the two because I've got my MIDI keyboard over here, but sometimes it comes in handy just to be able to have the keyboard as a piano. Anyway, this is key mapping, which is similar to MIDI mapping, whereas let's say I want to turn this off and on with my keyboard number 1, it goes off and on over there like that. Same thing, just for MIDI. So obviously you would have your MIDI controller. Let's say I want to turn off 1 over there with, let's say, can I do that? Yes. So this key button over here, there you go, turns off and on. Also with 1, off and on. This is your CPU usage. Monitor that with your live, especially if you don't have the best running computer. Make sure it doesn't overclock, and you're obviously going to get a lot of latency issues and everything like that. This is basically an indicator to show you that your CPU is overloading. You'll see it go red, I think. I will actually start going in and discussing sections of these things and a little bit more shortcuts in detail and, in future videos. If that's something you want to see, please leave a comment down below, leave a like if you're enjoying this video so far. If you're not enjoying this video so far, please leave a thumbs down as well, and let me know what I can do better, and what I can improve on, because I want to deliver you guys the best possible content that I can deliver. Over here, you have your, what can you say, your search bar. This is where everything is. Essentially, this is where your tool rack is. This is where your samples are. This is where your main hub of what you will be kind of dragging into the arrangement view or session view, whatever it will be. So obviously you start off with your sounds. These are pre-made sounds from, Ableton instruments and all that, just to get you started. And a lot of different stuff to go through. I mean, honestly, there's so much potential within these sounds over here, especially because I think some of them are even kind of like racks, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's just a basic sound, and you can take it, to insane levels of creativity. But more on that in later videos. Anyway, you got your sounds, your drum sounds. So look at this. We have so much drum kits to choose from. I mean, I was told that these drum kits are good. I think they're very great. But the Contact drum kit library is 100 times better. I mean, I don't really have any leg to stand on, don't use Contact, but I'm pretty sure it's bloody amazing. But these kits really do a lot. You know, they have a lot of potential, and some of them are selector kits. Let me actually bring up a selector kit rather. And essentially what you do over here is you can select the sample of the certain sound. Let's do a kick rather. See, choosing different sounds. Anyway, I digress. We got our instrument rack over here. So all of your Ableton stock plugins. I mean, operator, wavetable, simpler, collision are probably my favorite ones. You know, apart from the drum rack, obviously. And then you have your audio effects. Now, these are really important. These, I think, are very good audio effects too, especially if you know how to use them. If you want, please leave a comment down below on which audio effect you would like to see discussed in more detail. For now, we'll move on to MIDI effects. These are obviously your effects controlled by MIDI, so you can't put a MIDI effect on a sample. You would have to load that sample into sampler, simpler, and then load in the MIDI effect like the arpeggiator. This is your Max for Live section. So if you have any Max for Live instruments, it will appear over here. And any third-party plugins will appear in this folder over here. Next, you just have other clips. This is a bunch of samples that come with Ableton, especially I think if you have the, I don't know if it's different between the live version and light version. Anyway, moving on, we got a core library pack, so different types of stock, not stock, but preset kits or sounds, devices, samples, all that kind of stuff essentially over here, just like I think all of these is essentially. And then you have your own library, and I think so with this place over here, comes with packs, user library, current project, but the rest you obviously add the folder over there, and this is where I keep all my samples. So that's pretty much done for the search bar or desktop bar, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, moving on, we've got our groove pool over here. I'll call it the groove pool. It is the groove pool. And essentially what it is you're able to load in different grooves, swing, all that kind of stuff to, you know, your rhythmic bits or even your, you know, melodic bits and everything. It's just a way of keeping things a bit more fluid and not so static, because this is obviously a very static and everything kind of falls on one, everything's quantized, which is nice, but sometimes you want a little bit of swing, you want a little bit more looseness within your music. It creates a more organic, is this organic? Type feel. A real type feel to it. I definitely want to do a video on the groove pool, and just how to get, you know, utilize it to its best potential. Next, you have down over here, which is kind of like an info view bar, and this is very helpful. I don't think I've seen it in a lot of different doors, but you know, this is the first door I saw that had this, where obviously if you hover over something, it kind of gives you a little bit of information, what it is and what it does. I mean, it's amazing. If you have, let's say, operator open, and you go, let's say, over here, see filter frequency, and it just kind of defines it and gives you a bit more information on it. I think it's very, very useful. It definitely helped me out in my first few days in Ableton, because it kind of gave me a better understanding on what I was actually doing, or what parameter I was about to control. So it helped me learn a little bit more of the terminology and just trying to understand things better. Now, obviously, over here, you have your main arrangement view. This is where everything is kind of going to end up, you know, by the end of the track. You know, you can have MIDI clips and audio clips. You have your returns over here, your send and returns over here. And the similar thing goes for the arrangement view. You have, you know, obviously your MIDI and audio tracks over here, and then your send and returns over here. Now at the top over here, you have your, what do they call it? The world view, or the overview, I guess, of the project, as you can see, and you can kind of just zoom in, control around, move around, all that stuff. I like this little shortcut. I will be throwing in a few different hotkey shortcuts, I suppose you can call it, where if I have, you know, a load of different channels, I use Control and Alt to kind of move up and down instead of scrolling with the wheel. I just find it's a lot quicker, a lot smoother, more time efficient, really. Anyway, speaking of time efficient, I better shut up and move on. So we want to learn how to set up our audio, how to set up a record channel, and how to set up our microphone. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to route it so you can see the microphone being done now. Obviously, you want to go to your options, your preferences, and choose the right driver and the right audio device. Once you have all of this set up, you can then go ahead and, you know, arm your microphone and it will come through. Let me know if you want me to go into more detail on setting up your software, your interface and your microphone to allow for recording. But anyway, over here, what you would do is you would open up an audio channel. Next, you will choose where you're taking the signal from. So let's put up a piano. Now we'll put up operator actually, because okay, I don't know what typing that was. Operator, cool. And what we'll do, wow, terrible response. Okay, whatever. Cool. So we want to record this, right? So now we've got our operator set up. Now we've got our audio channel set up, and we want to capture the sound coming from our operator into this channel over here. So what you got to do is you got to choose where you're taking the audio signal from. So as you can see, we're taking it from operator because we want to take the signal being, you know, sent from operator, the output signal, and we want to capture that signal. So we're capturing it from number 2 operator. And that's essentially all you really have to do. You just have to know where you're taking your signal from and where you're sending your signal to. Next, what you got to do is you got to arm this track. If you don't arm it, nothing's going to happen. So you'll see the signal being displayed over here, and you can see the signal being displayed over here. Now you have a choice between pre-effects, post-effects, post-mixer. This all determines whether channel will be recording the effects of the operator. Will it be pre-effects? So if it's pre-effects, then you're not going to get any of the, you know, effects put on here. So if I do a nice little example for you over here, and we'll do that. And it should still be the full spectrum. See over here. So that's your pre-effects. Post-effects, obviously you're going to capture it. And post-mixer, that means it's also going to, the level is also going to determine, you know, the recording, the output of the recording and such. Next, you have in, auto, and off. This kind of, in is basically you're monitoring the sound, you're monitoring the track, you're monitoring, and it usually, this is more done for microphones or, you know, live instruments being, you know, recorded, and you want to monitor it. So let's say I want to monitor my, but yeah, you can turn it on, in, auto, or off. Usually just keep it at auto. I mean, you know, unless, like you say, you know, like I say, you're recording vocals, drums, you know, live instruments, that's when, and you want to monitor it. You want to monitor the recording being done, so you can obviously, if you have your mixing desk, you can then, you know, faders up and down. But yeah, that's kind of when you would want to use that. So just keep it to auto, and you got that, and it's all good. Now this is your, you know, you're arming the track on and off. It's basically just turning the track on and off. Solo over here. Record, enable, as we discussed earlier. You know, you got your fader, your volume, you got your pan, left and right. This is your sending the signal out. So this is your in, this is your out. The way you can always remember it is a waterfall. So the waterfall is always flowing out, down, and into the stream below. So the thing is always coming out and going in, and it's usually done like that. You'll find it on patch bays and everything like that. It's usually, you know, out to in. Yeah, very interesting. Depending on what you want, usually you just send it to the master, because it's, where else would you want to be sending it? You know, unless in certain cases where you want to be sending it to a send only, you know, then you would need to do that. But just be conscious of where the signal is flowing, where it's coming from, where you want it to go to. That is by far one of the most common problems in audio, is when you are creating something and you're trying to patch in a desk or something, and something goes wrong and you're not hearing any sound. It is usually because your signal flow, there is something missing within the link. There's a button or something's not patched in right. Just go back, double check your signal flow, go double check your routing, and you will find the issue there. Now over here you got your audio effect channel rack. I mean, you can compare this to, you know, Cubase, where you'll have your, like, effect rack over here, where you can then obviously insert EQs, compression, whatever. But in Ableton, it's down over here. Now, there's a few more like hidden little buttons and secrets that I'm not going to go over now just for the sake of time. But this is practically the overview of the arrangement view and your first few seconds, minutes in Ableton Live. So with that being said, I'm going to leave the video over here. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below if you want to see more of this stuff. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell button on the side to get a notification for when I release another video. Anyway, that's it from me. See you guys in the next one.